leading anti-abortion group blasted Donald Trump after his campaign said he believes states should decide abortion laws. On Thursday, a Trump spokesman provided this statement to the Washington Post when asked whether the former president supported the 6-week abortion ban that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law. Quote, President Donald J. Trump believes that the Supreme Court, led by 3 justices which he supported, got it right when they ruled this is an issue that should be decided at the state level. In response, a prominent anti-abortion group, Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, issued a scathing statement that reads in part President Trump's assertion that the Supreme Court returned the issue of abortion solely to the states is a completely inaccurate reading of the Dobbs decision and is a morally indefensible position for a self-proclaimed pro-life presidential candidate to hold. It continues, we will oppose any presidential candidate who refuses to embrace, at a minimum, a 15-week national standard to stop painful, late-term abortions while allowing states to enact further protections. When asked for comment, a Trump spokesperson reiterated the former president's position and said our focus here should be on saving lives and avoiding the radical left's traps, not dividing the pro-life community. So interesting.
Yeah, well, it is. But, Jonathan Lemire, you have Donald Trump, who's pro-choice most of his life. Mm-hmm. And that natural inclination of his, despite who he appointed, that natural inclination really started to show itself when we started to get word from the Supreme Court that they were going to overturn Roe. The Dobbs decision leaked. Trump, as you know, fretting about that privately, saying it would be horrible. Didn't he even go so far as to blame pro-lifers for losing the 2022 midterm elections?
He most certainly did. He expressed real private worry in the aftermath of the Supreme Court leak to Politico that this could be bad for Republicans in November. He then, after the Republicans were disappointing in their November outcomes, in part because of candidates Trump handpicked for the Senate, we should just note, but Trump turned around and did blame a lot of pro-life Republicans for that. And it's interesting going forward because we know that he's had a pretty firm grip on the evangelical pro-life Republican base throughout his time in office. And now there seems to be some unhappiness there. But there hasn't, at least for now, been an alternative to coalesce around. Like certainly Mike Pence, for instance, his would-be campaign has not gained much in the way of traction yet. But it's also interesting how Trump, as he's sometimes hard to pin down, and I know we don't like to refer to him as a conservative here, and on many issues he's not, and he is willing to defy Republican orthodoxy, Joe and Mika. And it's on this. He's warned that abortion would be a political loser for Republicans. He's also warned that touching programs like Social Security and Medicaid could be a political loser for Republicans. Polling bears that out, but some of the GOP are going the other way.
Why?
All right, let's bring in right now Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today, Susan Page. Susan, there does seem to be a split here. It's not just pro-life groups that are going after Donald Trump. Donald Trump's been going after pro-life groups and pro-life voters for a year now.
Well, and he's right when he says that the abortion issue was a big problem for Republicans in the midterm elections, and it looms as a big problem for them going forward because the fact is they are at odds with the force of U.S. public opinion when they talk about things like a national abortion ban or a ban at 15 weeks or 16 weeks of pregnancy, and the actions that some states are taking, including actions to restrict access to the abortion drug the way most abortions are now performed in the United States. So the Republicans, I think, are struggling to figure out how they can continue to get the support of pro-life voters without putting them at odds with other voters they need to get if they want to win elections.
Susan, Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida, an unannounced candidate, signed a 6-week abortion ban for his state, but he signed it like at 11 at night with no fanfare. So he can't have that both ways. But how do politicians like DeSantis navigate this? You look at the polling, you know that a 6-week ban is not going to play well nationally, but at the same time he wants those evangelical pro-life voters. How do you walk this thin edge?
Well, he did tweet a picture of him signing it, so I guess he did go on the record in that way with that 6-week ban. The problem a lot of Americans have with a 6-week ban is that that's before many people realize they are pregnant. So it is a pretty severe measure to take, and he is now on the record. There are other Republicans who are being very cautious about talking about a national abortion ban at all. You see Republican senators, for instance, doing the same thing that Trump has done, which is say, let's leave it up to the states.